The main thing is really to let them know what the SDGs really are. A lot of you don't know, and I know that there are a couple of different initiatives that are out there that are trying to, kind of create more awareness. But I think that the key is really to make sure that that you break it down, right? The SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, sounds extremely complicated, and like it's for old people. So how do we make it more real, more accessible, right? One of the things I said in the panel that I spoke at yesterday was the SDGs are opportunities to actually start businesses, because each SDG is basically a problem statement, right? And there are multiple problems under that particular problem statement, right? So you talk about women empowerment. There are lots and lots of problems that women in Africa are facing that technology can solve, that youth can solve through creating businesses or creating programs for women, for example. So how can you basically just take an SDG, look for a problem within that SDG, find a solution, and build a business?
You know why I took you around the corner to actually get back to your business is because I just wanted to loop this whole conversation together. Now, you just mentioned that, of course, the youth have to look at some of the problems and find solutions for them. Of course, that's rather a very interesting point. But you, as Future Software, what are some of the issues that you are tackling, that you are, seeing changing every day because you're providing a platform or a system for?
Okay, so I think the biggest problem that we're solving, and also the reason why we started the company, is to put African businesses on the map. I studied in Germany, and in 2005 I moved back to Nigeria, and I would Google Italian restaurant in Lagos, 0 results found. I'm like, how am I supposed to find anything or do anything here, Then you have to call your friends, and they will call somebody else who might know somebody, and then somebody's uncle's mother's cousin will now finally tell you, okay, you can go to this address. And you get there and it's closed because you didn't know they didn't open on Monday, right? So for me, it was very important to actually start pushing for African businesses to be on the map, because how else can you trade with the rest of the world and the rest of Africa? Right? And even up till today, I think that's one of the things that is really important. So now there are more and more businesses who have websites, but it goes beyond that, right? So you have a website, how do you drive traffic to it? How do you compete in a global world where there are multiple players in that same sector, for example? How do you make sure that you stand out? So you have to go the extra mile. If you look at how Google ranks you now, your social media footprint goes in there, whether your site is mobile responsive, the kind of keywords you have. So there are so many different things that now go into you actually being able to stand out. And the digital marketing solutions that we offer, as well as the technology solutions that we offer, kind of address that problem of, okay, so now you've got the solution, you have your website, you have your products or services that you're trying to market, but you're not getting any business from online, right? So it's still your old traditional network, word of mouth, and things like that. So how do you reach audiences that are bigger within your country, outside of your country, Pan-African, and on a global scale? How do you, kind of promote made in Africa products and goods and services to the rest of the world? Because at the end of the day, we have absolutely amazing brands in Africa, but nobody knows about them.
One of the biggest constraints to, of course, SMEs growth and startups on the continent has mainly been attached with access to finance, but also regulations, like the policies in place don't favor growth or growing across the borders. Most of them even in their country of origin. But when the African heads of state signed the AFCFTA back in March in this particular place, everyone was excited that this is going to have, a lot of change happening. We're still only looking at about 5 to 6 countries that have actually ratified. But do we necessarily understand how important this continental free trade area is for small and medium enterprises and startup entrepreneurs?
So I think that, coming from a country that has not signed, yes. Right?
I hope I'm not throwing stones, but...
Yeah, both of us. But for me, I don't think that the governments actually understand the urgency with which we need to really focus on Pan-African trade and inter-African trade, because we have to look at it this way. We have 1 billion people in Africa. If I can make $1 off every single billion person, then I'm a billionaire in dollars. So, let's look at the numbers, right? So yes, maybe not everybody has disposable income to, give me $1. However, the products that I sell are not $1, right? So I don't actually need 1 billion people, but yes, I do need a larger target audience to actually scale my business, right? And I think especially businesses that sell products, right, have amazing growth potential if they can trade Pan-African, whether it is, clothing items or whether it is beauty products. Once the market is bigger, you actually have more customers or potential customers, right? And then also, I think, Africans are becoming more conscious about what they buy, right? So the first thing you buy is made in your own country. But then if you have the choice between buying an American product and maybe a product from Kenya that has the same quality, you will buy the product from Kenya because you're like, no, I'm going to support an African business. Yes. And I think that is something that is very specific to the youth market as well. And because of social media and digital, these things are very accessible, right? So somebody tells you, oh, I like your scarf or whatever you're wearing.
Where can I get it from?
Where can I get it from? Oh, I got it from this little shop in Kigali. This is their website. You go on the website and you're like, hey, I want this, and then what, right? To ship it, it's going to cost you a fortune, right? Which means that you now are facing the problem of, let me find a friend who's in Kigali who's going to bring it, right? And this is exactly the same problem that we face trading with the rest of the world, right? So I've met so many entrepreneurs here and also back home who have said, I have products, I want to get them to the rest of the world, I have interest in the rest of the world because they are consumers outside of my country. However, these consumers, if my product costs $5 but the shipping costs $25, you're not going to buy it anymore, right? Which means I now need to start finding a friend that's traveling that can take it and then post it from London or post it from the States. That just doesn't make any sense, right? And it's the same thing with, intra-African trade and having customers that are across, the continent. You still have those issues of transportation, of customs, of, actually sending your products out by post or DHL or whatever the service is, right? It's extremely expensive. So these are massive barriers to actually getting companies to grow.